Hey guys, Luke with Logical Lacrosse here, and today we're going to be going over part 1 of my Week 5 review. Definitely a lot of exciting things happened this week, some upsets, definitely some things that happened that we didn't expect, some crazy comebacks, crazy goals, some crease dive shots, and some big hits, so let's get into this. So first game of Week 5, I actually saw part of this game. It was Tuesday, really midday, so I was at work. So I couldn't see the whole thing, sadly, but it was St. Joseph's at Delaware, and I thought this was going to be a lot closer than it turned out. Delaware took this 14-6 to continue their undefeated run until later this week, but they stayed undefeated at the time, 14-6 at home in front of a home crowd of 350. Well, it was 7-3 Delaware at half, but then they came out of the third quarter and went on a 5-0 run, which really put the game out of reach for St. Joseph's. Shots in favor of Delaware, 49-31. 20 turnovers for St. Joseph, 16 for Delaware, so pretty good job by Delaware. Ground balls, major difference, really tells the story of who dominated possession. Delaware with 24 for St. Joseph's. Man up, 1 for 4 for St. Joseph's and 1 for 3 for Delaware. One of them made a difference for St. Joseph's, so you got to credit both man down Ds there for only allowing one conversion on those. But my players of the game for St. Joseph's, I got Liam Hare. He had 1 goal, 1 assist, and he's a D-pole, and he was just everywhere in the game for the Barts I watched. And the fact that he was able to contribute twice on offense by getting some points for his player rating is really impressive for a D-pole. I mean, that's tough to do, especially a goal and assist, not just like 2 assists or two goals out the face-off. I mean, he's a standard D-pole, so really good for him. And for Delaware, I got Charlie Kitchen, 4 goals, 2 assists, and Joe Eisel, he had 3 goals and 2 assists. So great win by the Blue Hens, and a definitely tough loss for St. Joseph's. So another game I watched midday, Marist at Hartford. Hartford was winning when I had to go back to work, but Marist takes it 14-13. It was actually a really fun game to watch because it was going on during my lunch break, and I was really enjoying this game. I thought Hartford was going to win. They were looking pretty good at the time, so I was kind of shocked to see the final result. But this was in front of a home crowd of 187. Again, it was in the middle of the day, so not a lot of people were able to go. But what made the difference was Marist won the fourth quarter 4-2, and you got to win the fourth quarter. That's the most important quarter because it's the last one. But shots in favor of the Red Foxes, 47-32. Turnovers, really good job taking care of the ball for both teams. 15 for Marist, 11 for Hartford. Ground balls, Marist wins 38-25, and man up, 1 for 5 for Marist, which was not good enough, and 3 for 4 for Hartford, which is really good. But I guess Hartford's D deserves some credit on the man down D, but Marist has got to improve on that. So one of the reasons they really struggled earlier in the year against some of the service academies like Army and Air Force. But my players of the game, I'll start with Marist. Peyton Smith, he had 1 goal, and he was 27 of 31 on face-offs. Marist actually won the face-off battle, 27-4 in all. So, I mean, that's just an insane day, and really a big reason why Marist was able to come away with a win with all those extra possessions. And for Hartford, I got Ty Thompson. He had 3 goals, 4 assists, so a 7-point game. But Hartford, still looking for that first win of their year, and Marist has really looked good, and they continue to follow this win up with another strong performance. So Georgetown at Mount St. Mary's, closer than probably a lot of people thought. Georgetown takes it 13-11 in front of a home crowd of 314. What made the difference was Georgetown won the fourth quarter 4-1. Shots in their favor as well, 47-28. Turnovers, they really took care of the ball with only 11. Mount St. Mary's had 20. That makes a difference in these close 1-2 goal games. Ground balls, the Hoyas take it 34-28. Man up, 1 of 5 for Georgetown, 2 of 4 for Mount St. Mary's. So Georgetown's just got to get that man up cleaned up. I don't think they're as good as what I thought they're going to be at the start of the year. They've definitely struggled and been in some close games against teams they really should beat by more. Kind of like Mount St. Mary's, no disrespect. But they're going to have to get that cleaned up. Denver's going to be coming. Marquette, Villanova. I mean, all those guys are going to be hunting Georgetown. They got the target on their back, so they're going to have to improve on that. But players of the game, Georgetown got Jake Caraway, 4 goals, 2 assists. Great game by him. And Dylan Fernback, he had 13 saves for Mount St. Mary's. So, good win for Georgetown and a tough loss for Mount St. Mary's. So, Wagner had a tough week this week, and it started with a loss on the road at Monmouth. Monmouth takes it 9-7, which was a really good win for Monmouth, in front of a home crowd of 165 people. What really made the difference was in the second half, Monmouth won the second half 7-2. I mean, when you when you allow a team to dominate you that much in one half of the game, you're usually going to lose. And it happened. Shots in favor of Wagner, though, 36-24. Turnovers high for both teams, 22 for Wagner, 18 for Monmouth. Ground balls, 31-20 in favor of Wagner. Man up, 2 for 5 for Wagner and 0 for 2 for Monmouth. So bad on the man up for both. I mean, if Wagner would have converted on 2 more of those, it would have been a tie game. Convert on all, they win. So that's why I always harp on the man ups. But my players of the game, Spencer Kaufman, really the best player on that roster for Wagner. He had 2 goals, 1 assist. And Zach Clement, he had 4 goals for Monmouth. So a really good win for Monmouth. So this one, a little surprising, especially the score differential, 5 goals. Boston hosting Bryant, who I thought would put up a better fight, but Boston wins it 14-9 in front of a home crowd of 103. It was 8-5 to go into halftime, so Boston won both halves. But shots in favor of Boston, 40-29. High turnovers for both teams, 27 for Bryant, 24 for Boston. One thing that really killed Bryant was they were 16 of 27 on clears, which is just awful. I mean, I honestly don't get how a team could do that many times. I mean, I know it happens, and you got to give credit to Boston's ride. They must have been running a 10-man ride, or I'm going to assume that's what they were doing, but some of those were definitely unforced errors, which is going to kill you when you're in. I mean, I think these teams are pretty evenly matched on paper, but, I mean, when you make mistakes like that, it's going to kill you against an evenly matched opponent. They'll take advantage of that. But ground balls in Boston's favor, 43-30, and the man up, 1 for 4 for Bryant, and 2 for 3 for Boston. So Boston did a really good job on the man up and took advantage of their opponent's mistakes. But my players of the game, we'll start with Bryant, and Mason Balch. He had 2 goals, 1 assist, so he was really the best offensive threat for the Bulldogs. But Boston, same duo as always, Batman, Robin, but they're both Batman. Chris Gray, 2 goals, 5 assists, and James Burr, he had 3 goals and 1 assist. So good win for Boston, and definitely a tough loss on the road for Bryant. So next up, definitely the most exciting game on the Tuesday slate, and I feel kind of silly because when I did my Week 4 review, I said, oh, Harvard's going to have a chance to get their first win here against Holy Cross, and yeah, I look pretty dumb now because Holy Cross, a massive comeback, and they win in double overtime at home, 11-10. Crazy comeback. Everyone thought it was over except for Holy Cross. I mean, I cannot believe they came back. What a collapse by Harvard, but what a great job by Holy Cross to stay in the game and make that comeback. But this was in front of a home crowd of 115 people. Definitely a shame that it was that low of a crowd, but Tuesday night, and Holy Cross has struggled for a long time, but man, what a game to miss. This was one of the best games of the week. So it's 8-3. Harvard wins the first half, and then Holy Cross wins the second half 7-2. So it's really a tale of 2 halves, but Holy Cross won the more important half. And shots went 35 for Harvard, 58 for the Crusaders, 42 ground balls for Holy Cross, 26 for Harvard. Face-offs, Holy Cross dominating the face-offs 26-4. Man up, both teams horrible on the man up, and really made a difference for Harvard, who was 0 for 4. If they converted on just one of those, they would have won the game. They would have had 1 extra goal, and Holy Cross wouldn't have tied it to go into overtime. I mean, that's terrible by Harvard's offense, but I mean, Holy Cross's D does deserve some credit, and they were 0 for 1, so they would have got that one in normal regulation. They would have just got the game-winning goal and not even played in overtime. But I mean, they still won, but still, just gotta look out for that stuff. But turnovers high for both teams. Really reason I think Harvard let Holy Cross get back into the game. They had 24, Holy Cross 23. So I think those high turnovers for Holy Cross are from first half, and the high for Harvard are second half. But players of the game, for Harvard, we got Kyle Anderson, 2 goals, 2 assists. And for Holy Cross, I got Ridge Driscoll, who I mentioned with the faceoffs earlier, 22-26. Great game for him. And I also just highlight the team's mental toughness of Holy Cross to come back down 8-3. Really seemed like it was over. I think it actually went up to 10-3. So the fact that they were down by 7 and they came back and win, I mean, that's really good coaching, belief in each other, and I wish more teams, collegiately, high school, youth, pro, whatever, would have that kind of grit and determination to keep playing. So the final game of Tuesday night, Stony Brook at Hofstra, and Hofstra was really sloppy in this game, especially early, but this was in front of an attendance of 522 people. Stony Brook did take this one 11-10, by the way, but shots in favor of the Seawolves, 33-29, 21 turnovers for Stony Brook, 17 for Hofstra. A lot of those early turnovers were early turnovers for Hofstra. Ground balls, 42-34, favoring Stony Brook. Face-offs were pretty even, 13 for Stony Brook, 12 for Hofstra. Both teams were 1 for 2, so 50%. I can't complain about that. But yeah, it was a sloppy game in the first half. A lot of turnovers, especially by Hofstra. They were leaving Stony Brook players wide open on the crease. A lot of easy slips. Hofstra defensemen didn't have their sticks up. They weren't turning their heads, and they weren't in the proper passing lanes, or their hips weren't directing their man to the right place. So really sloppy by them, but they definitely cleaned it up because it was a 1-goal loss in the end, and they got some more goals in the second half. But my players of the game, for Stony Brook, we got Tom Hahn, 5 goals, basically 50% of the offensive output. And for Hofstra, I got Whit Stopak with 4 goals, 40% of the output. So really entertaining, close game, but it was pretty sloppy, which definitely put a damper on it. But what a great win for Stony Brook on the road. So Wednesday night, this was probably the best game of the week. If not, it's in the top 3. And this is number 1 Loyola, or used to be number 1 Loyola, at Towson. Towson takes this 12-10. I think Towson should wear those throwback jerseys for their normal jerseys because they've beat 2 very highly ranked teams when wearing them at home. So they should just wear those all the time. That's my recommendation for you Towson fans. But this was in front of a home crowd of 2,534 people, which is just awesome to see on a Wednesday night for a lacrosse game. I mean, that's just great. You really wouldn't have expected that when I first got into sport when I was in 7th grade. But it was really a well-played game by both teams. I don't really want to criticize either team. Towson just made a few more plays, but it's not like Loyola did anything egregious to lose. Just Towson played a little bit better. But I think if these two teams played 10 times, they'd probably both beat each other 5 times. So they'd probably split down the middle. But what made the difference was the Towson defense. They really kept Pat Spencer quiet until late in the game. When it was too late, shots were in favor of Towson, 49-34. Turnovers, pretty good, 17 for Towson, 16 for Loyola. Both teams had 31 ground balls. And what made a huge difference was the face-offs for Towson. And because I saw in the second half when Loyola was trying to make a comeback, they just couldn't win the face-off when they were, say, 1 goal away. They would score, but then they had to lose the face-off because Alex Woodall was so good. And, then they'd get a possession, at least kill 80 seconds if they didn't score, which they ended up scoring near the end, which really iced it. But, yeah, really, face-offs really made the difference, as well as the Towson D, which leads to my player's game. For Loyola, I got Kevin Lindley. He had 6 goals. 60%. He really stepped up because Pat Spencer was kind of shut down. Not like he had a bad game, but Towson's had a great game plan for him. I'm not ripping on Pat Spencer. He's not going to get 12 points every game. But Towson, my players of the game. Alex Woodall, he had a big battle with weight loss this offseason. He shredded a lot of weight, which really showed, so I'm really happy for that young man to be able to do that. He was 20-26 on faceoffs, and he had an assist as well. He had a great game. He was a difference maker, and so was Tyler Canto with 14 saves. He had some clutch saves late in the game. So, yeah, really good game. Really enjoyed it. This is what the game is all about. Great matchups like this. So Loyola will be fine, and Towson is one of the few teams to still be undefeated in the season. So Friday night game, Duke at Richmond. I got a little risky. I picked Richmond for the upset. I was feeling it, but I was not feeling it correctly as Duke wins it 11-7. Richmond did take an early lead 2-0. They scored right off the opening face-off, which was pretty cool. I was like, here we go, Notre Dame. The SoCon's taking over the ACC here. But, yeah, Duke wins it in the end. It was 4-4 at halftime, but Duke had a 3-0 win in the fourth quarter, which really made the difference. It was, 8-7, and then Richmond couldn't score in the fourth. Duke's D deserves credit for that, but yeah, you can't win when you don't score in the fourth quarter at all. This was in front of a home crowd, though, of 1,432 people, which is awesome. I mean, it's a SoCon team in Richmond, and they're very new. I forget the exact date, but I saw them in their first year because they played NCAA playing game at Air Force. But the fact that they're so new and they get this kind of support is just awesome to me, which is really exciting. But yeah, shots in favor of Duke, 44-30. Duke made a difference with the turnovers, 13, 18 for Richmond. I mean, when you have lower turnovers, you're generally going to win. Ground balls, 30-17, favoring the Blue Devils. Face-offs, 14-7, favoring Duke. And both teams failed to score on the man-up. 0 for 2 for Richmond, 0 for 1 for Duke. So both man-down Ds deserve credit, but Richmond really could have used those two conversions to make it 11-9. And who knows, maybe it's a little closer. But my players of the game, we'll start with Duke. I got JT Giles Harris, who I think is the best deep hole in D1 Lacrosse. He had 4 ground balls, and this guy was just everywhere. He never gives up his positioning, if rarely. I mean, he does not make mistakes very often. He's definitely going to play in the pros if he wants to. At least if I was a coach in the PLL, because the PLL is probably going to take over the MLL, let's be honest. I hope it does. But, I mean, that guy, if I was a coach and I could draft him, and you're struggling on defense, you definitely want that guy. He's one of the best. But for Richmond, I got Teddy Hatfield. He had 3 goals, 1 assist. So, good win for Duke. They get some revenge on some SoCon teams after the High Point loss. And Richmond really shouldn't feel down about this. I mean, they lose to, a top 10 team. I mean, you can't feel bad. Not a bad loss to have on your resume. And they already got 1 top 10 win. So, yeah, good, exciting Friday night game that kind of leads into the more exciting games this Saturday. So, early morning game, 8 a.m. my time. It was Denver at North Carolina in North Carolina's new facility. And it was a very exciting game. 12-10, Denver takes it in front of a home crowd of 1,521 people. So definitely attendance was up. So I thought that was weird. Their attendance was lower. It must have been because they're waiting for the new facility. But DU wins the second half 8-4, which really makes the difference. They were down at half. But, I mean, the fact that they came out and really dominated the second half makes the difference. And just a key note, this is the second game in a row where North Carolina has only scored 10. So it's kind of proven now that they got to score more than 10 to win their games. They're not going to get away with only getting 10, counting on their defense to hold a team into single digits. So that's just kind of a point of reference for later in the year if you're a North Carolina fan, knowing you got to get above 10 to win your games. But shots in favor of North Carolina, 45-37. Turnovers, 18 for Denver, 17 for North Carolina. Not bad. Clears, Denver was awful on the clears, 14-22. Kind of weird they had that many turnovers. Must have been, a lot of them were in the first half, but still to have that many bad clears and a win. And North Carolina wasn't great, but not bad. 11-15. Ground balls, North Carolina wins it 38-34. And man up, both teams pretty sloppy. 1 for 4 for Denver. Not good enough when you want to play higher teams. Not like North Carolina's a lower team, but you want more cushion room with converting on your man-ups. And 2 for 5 for North Carolina. I mean, you convert on 2 more of those, it's a tie game. You convert on all of them, you win. I mean, that's why man-ups really make or break a team. But players of the game, for Denver, I got Austin French. He had 1 goal, 5 assists. He is the assist master. He must be having a lot of friends in the locker room. And for North Carolina, I got William Perry. He had 4 goals, so a really good game by him as well. But yeah, great win for Denver on the road. North Carolina's going to have to rebound. They've lost 2 straight after a strong start to the year. So it'll be cool to kind of see if they can rebound or if they're going to keep falling into an abyss of defeats. So next up, Harvard finally gets their first win against a team that is still looking for their first win even after this game. Harvard at Hartford. Harvard takes it 16-9. So again, it's Harvard's first win. Never close. Harvard was leading 10-2 at half. Shots in their favor, 44-26. Turnovers, 17, 23 for Hartford. Way too many. Ground balls, 38 for Harvard, 28 for Hartford. Man up, really good for both teams. 4 for 6 for Harvard, 3 for 6 for Hartford. Yes, that's. I know they sound similar, but I'm saying Harvard's first. Harvard's players of the game, I got Kyle Anderson again. He had 3 goals and 2 assists. And for Hartford, I got Dylan Jinks. He had 3 goals, 1 assist. So congrats to Harvard for their first win of the season. And Hartford, they don't look bad because I've seen them play at times. They just got to keep working. I think it'll come together eventually, but I know it's a tough to be out of February and still be looking for that first win. So Stony Brook and Marist, two teams coming off of good wins from Tuesday, but Marist takes advantage. I was shocked by the score. It was 10-5 Marist. I mean, they won by, well, I thought Stony Brook was going to take it, but yeah, Marist came out and really dominated the game. It was close, but Marist went out on a 5-0 run in the third quarter, and Stony Brook never sniffed a tie again. And this was in front of a home crowd of 1,007 people. Shots in the Red Foxes' favor, 33-28. Pretty good turnovers for both teams. Marist a little high, 18, and 13 for Stony Brook. Ground ball is 34 for Marist, 21 for Stony Brook. Face-offs really made a difference with Marist winning them 13-4. And man up bad for both teams, especially Marist, 0 for 5. Terrible. That's just awful. And 0 for 2 for Stony Brook. But I mean, Stony Brook's D deserves credit for holding it every time, but I mean, it's the reason Stony Brook lost as well. I know they didn't allow the man-up goals, but 5 penalties, still you're going to tire out your defense, and you're not helping your team win when you get that many penalties. But players of the game, I got Marist. Peyton Smith, 15-19 on face-offs, really made the difference in this game. And for Stony Brook, I got Tom Hahn. He had 1 goal, 2 assists. Really the only good offensive threat in this game for Stony Brook. But yeah, two good wins for Marist this week. We'll see how they do moving forward. So probably a surprising result to some, but not to me. I picked this result. I saw Utah last week, and I could tell they're improving. So they're 3-3 on the year now. Utah on the road beats Furman 8-7, and way closer than it was early. Utah started out leading 6-0 from a home crowd, 219 people. Shots in Furman's favor, 44-28. 21 turnovers for Utah, still kind of sloppy. Like I said, for my special feature on them last week, they were a little sloppy still. I mean, it's a new program. 16 for Furman. Ground balls go to Furman, 22-20. Man up, 1 for 3 for Utah, not good enough, but at least they converted. And 0 for 4 for Furman. Don't convert on your man ups, you'll lose. I mean, they convert on 1, it's tied. If they convert on 2, they win. So that's really killer. But players of the game, Liam Donnelly, 17 saves. What a great game by him. And the fact that Utah really didn't help him out later on is they allowed a massive Furman comeback. I mean, great for him to not allow his young team to collapse. And for Furman, I got Sage Reith. He was 9 for 10 on face-offs. He did double duty. But 90% face-off win rate is really good, and that's a big reason why Furman was able to come back in the game. So, Princeton's lost a couple tough ones now. And this one to Hopkins, 14-12. Hopkins wins on the road in front of a home crowd of 1,244 people. What made the difference, Hopkins wins the fourth quarter, 6-3, really came out firing in that quarter. Shots in their favor, 44-42. Turnovers not bad for both teams, a little high though, 19 for Hopkins, 18 for Princeton. And ground balls, Hopkins favor as well, 42-38. Face-offs, Hopkins takes advantage of the face-offs, which allowed them to keep the lead, 19-9. Both man-ups struggle a little bit. 1 for 3 for Hopkins, 2 for Princeton. Yeah, 50% is really good, but it's just kind of I know it's 50% is good, but when you don't convert on those 2 and then you lose by 2, it just kind of makes you wonder, like So I mean that you gotta get all your man ups. I mean that should be the goal. But Hopkins man down deserves some credit there, and so does Princeton's man up. I mean they did get 50%, but. Players of the game, Hopkins, I got Cole Williams. He had 3 goals, 1 assist. Really good game from him. And for Princeton, I got Michael Sowers, a different guy. But he's got 2 goals, 3 assists. So a tough loss for the Princeton Tigers. And Hopkins, I'm happy for him. They really started pretty bad. But, I mean, that Towson blowout at the start of the year does not look bad anymore. So Towson's one of the few undefeated teams. And Loyola was ranked number 1 just recently. But, yeah, Hopkins deserves credit for fighting back. They were kind of getting some hate, including from me, about how, they're not looking too good this year. And they've really responded well, and with a good win on the road. So, final game in part 1 is Brown at UMBC. How would Brown respond after that tough loss to Stony Brook? And they respond. They win 14-13 in overtime in front of a home crowd of UMBC fans of 1,245 people. Brown wins the third quarter 5-1, and then UMBC came back to force overtime 4-0, winning the fourth quarter. Shots in favor of Brown, 37-35. Turnovers, 20 for Brown, 15 for UMBC. So pretty good by UMBC. High for Brown, which is the reason why UMBC got back in the game in the fourth Brown balls, Brown wins it 39-30. Face-offs, Brown does take advantage of the face-offs 21-10. And man up, both teams were 1 for 3s, so a little too low. But Brown's player of the game, I got Ryan Oghaven. He had 1 goal and 1 assist, but that 1 goal was the game winner, so he earns it. Mr. Clutch, congratulations to him. And for UMBC, I got Brett McIntyre. He had 5 goals. I mean, what a great offensive output, and then to lose, that just kind of feel bad for him. But good rebound by Brown, and UMBC still kind of struggling. They've been closing some games, but they're looking at kind of a tough year, I believe. So guys, that'll do it for part 1 of my Week 5 review. If you enjoyed this video, please feel free to leave a like and subscribe. I really appreciate it, and all the support you guys are giving me so far is definitely great. I love it, but I always want to keep growing up the channel, looking to improve it. But if you want more content like this besides my YouTube videos, please check out my Instagram or Twitter. It's at the same name, logical_lacrosse. And I also have a website at www.logicallacrosse.com where I have more content, kind of like this, but it's more in written form. So, guys, thank you again for watching. I look forward to seeing you in my other parts and in my 2 special features for this week. And as always, have a good rest of your day.